railway station standing as a colonial palace for transportation. A landmark hotel preserving a piece of Britain's bygone empire. And a street where the first college of Western education in India still stands. They are all here in Kolkata, the crown jewel of the British Raj.
I'm Jason Pomeroy, an eco-architect and urban planner, and I'm passionate about great cities. I'm travelling to a series of great cities and finding out how old and modern architecture give each city its special character.
British traders arrived in Kolkata in the 1600s. Representatives of the East India Company came mainly for trade, but in time assumed sovereignty over the subcontinent. The British ruled India for more than 300 years. Kolkata in West Bengal became the capital of British India from 1772 to 1911. And present-day Kolkata is proud to be called the cultural capital of India.
I've arrived in Calcutta and already it's a bit of an assault on the senses, and I can see some of the landmarks that I'm so familiar with. For instance, the Howrah Bridge, and I can feel the sense of hustle and bustle of this ancient capital already. This is certainly going to be a very interesting exploration for me because I've always had such a love affair for India, and in particular there is a period in time of the British Raj. That legacy is what I want to explore in this city. Have they learnt lessons from the past? Have they adapted? And can we see those examples today?
With a reputation as the country's curator of colonial architecture, Kolkata presents reminders of British rule at every turn. The Indian railway system was a British contribution that has become an integral part of travel across the subcontinent till this day. This is the iconic Howrah station, one of India's oldest railway stations.
I think the noise and the throng of people is quite overwhelming. But what I find truly amazing about this place is that we've got to bear in mind that during the days of the Raj, there were 2,000 British Indian civil service workers who actually administered over 300 million people across the subcontinent. Now, how do you do that? The way that you do that is by thinking about an extensive railway network, and Howrah Station is one of those particular landmarks. This palace to transport, this red brick edifice, is really quite outstanding.
This 1905 transportation palace was the creation of London architect Halsey Ralph Ricardo. Its Romanesque style alludes to medieval Europe. Clearly, the British Raj had invested a considerable sum to erect a structure of this magnitude to demonstrate their political might in the subcontinent.
This, even today, is quite a striking building, but in its time, in its heyday, this would have been really awe-inspiring for the local. But for the British Raj, it was a symbol of modernity, technological ingenuity with its very vast rail network, and certainly a symbol of power, prestige, and opulence.
Howrah Station is one of 4 intercity rail stations serving Kolkata. In 1854, the first train chugged out from the station's single platform. Today, with 23 platforms, Howrah handles more trains than any other station in India. Human traffic congestion is a constant. But in this frenetic hive of activity, a familiar fixture has served as lodestar for those overwhelmed by the moving masses. This is the prominent Boro Gori, or Big Clock, of Howrah Station. It is the most popular rendezvous point since 1926, and I am meeting Jay Singh, a native of Kolkata here.
Now tell me, I heard a rumour that this clock actually stopped. Is that true?
Yeah, in 2010 it was out of order. The railway management put this in order.
Okay.
And today we find it's running.
So we can synchronise our watches, and yes,
Yes.
it is telling the right time now.
This is an electronic age, but this is almost 100 years old clock.
This is the final stopping point, if I'm not mistaken, for the railway system. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you'll find the heights of this railway station on the platforms and the structures of these buildings. These are all historical. If you stay in these structures, you won't feel hot even in summers.
It's remarkable, yeah. There's no air conditioning.
Yeah, no
and
air
it's
conditioning.
actually natural light. And I just love the sort of the vaulted roofs with the sort of the wrought iron. It talks a bit about the British legacy of bringing industrial materials here to create the rail network.
As one of India's biggest railway complexes today, and perhaps the nation's busiest passenger hub, Howrah Station has earned the title Gateway to Kolkata. The chaos and cacophony certainly adds character to this hectic hub of arrivals and departures.
The British Raj effectively left a long-lasting legacy in the transport system. This steel framework allowed not only Indian civil service workers to administer over 300 million people, but it allowed trade and commerce and motion throughout the subcontinent. Yeah, we take it for granted today. We can jump on a plane at any time to actually go overseas. But actually, this form of transport still serves 13 million people per day. So really, it's not just about transport. It is the legacy of the British infrastructure that they laid down here. And really, the Howrah Bridge is another great example.
After the break, I examine an iconic cantilever up close and visit the playground of the British in colonial Kolkata. Linking the station to Kolkata is the Howrah Bridge, one of the world's longest cantilevers. It carries 100,000 vehicles and as many as 150,000 pedestrians a day. 26,500 tons of steel lend resilience that lets the span weather storms raging through the Bay of Bengal.
This is Howrah Bridge, and this dates to 1943 when it was actually constructed to link Howrah and Calcutta. It is actually one of the main thoroughfares, and it's the third longest cantilevered bridge in the world. It really is quite a remarkable structure because it's 705 metres long, which is equivalent to lining up 10 jumbo jets, nose to tail.
Howrah Bridge was seen as a farewell gift from the British to the people of Kolkata. It was the final major infrastructure built by the colonial masters before India gained independence in 1947.
This structure is really the height of technological ingenuity. You have these wonderful trusses that are kind of zigzagging across the road. And what this effectively does, it gives us ample width to be able to provide 4 lanes of traffic and then a pedestrian thoroughfare either side for basically trade and commerce and workers to flow backwards and forwards all day long. This gets incredibly chock-a-block during the day, and I guess it's slightly quieter now because of the pouring rain.
In 1965, Howrah Bridge was renamed Rabindra Setu, meaning Rabindra's Bridge, after the great Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore. Kolkata experienced a period of prosperity as the capital of British India. As the wealthiest region of its time, Bengal attracted the East India Company when Britain began casting its trading net towards India. Kolkata naturally became its capital when the British ruled the subcontinent. The City of Joy still glitters with traces of colonial days, and the Oberoi Grand Hotel reigns at Kolkata's heart as a symbol of opulence. The hotel's lavish neoclassical style certainly drew British residents like bees to honey.
Now, this is a welcoming sight. And I think if you're a homesick British colonial who had actually been months at sea and arriving here for the first time, or as a regular guest, this would almost be a slice of home.
The hotel was once the private residence of Colonel Grand in the early 1800s, whose name incidentally describes the hotel's grandeur.
Look at this as well. I mean, this wonderful domed ceiling characterized by a wonderful crystal chandelier. This is a very, very lofty volume that has a wonderful viewing gallery from above. I'm assuming maybe associated with a ballroom so that people entertaining could actually look back down here to see who's arriving. This is basically a meeting place for the British colonial.
In the 1930s, hotelier Mohan Singh Oberoi bought what was then the Grand Hotel and added his name to its name. With only 2 hotels in the city at the time, the Oberoi Grand easily became the playground of the upper echelons.
Tell me a bit about the history.
So, the Grand Dame of the East, that's what it's called. It was built in 1890 by Aratun Stephen, a young Armenian who arrived into Calcutta then.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, the Armenians have a heritage in hospitality. We see them in the Saki brothers, in Peninsula, Eastern Oriental, the Raffles, and also in Kolkata. But what I really want to know is what would it have been like for a British colonial who would be homesick? How would they have been entertained?
Well, plenty of options. So let me take you to all the right places.
That's perfect.
Please.
Thank you.
At the Oberoi Grand, one can still taste bygone luxury originally arranged for Britons yearning for homeland comforts.
What sort of things would have taken place here?
Plenty.
I can imagine.
You know, if you go back into the time of the British Empire, in the city there were just 2 hotels. And given its grandeur, when you look at the ballroom and its sheer size, so all the various large gatherings, whether it was weddings,
Yes.
annual general meetings of the then companies,
Yes.
ballets, cabarets, and talking about music, the story of jazz in India started from Kolkata.
That's remarkable. Now, I heard that there was a rather interesting story relating to piglets in this place. What is that about?
This was the much looked forward to New Year Eve party that would happen in this ballroom. And a part of the function was that they would release 12 piglets.
Wow.
And mind you, whoever caught one would get to keep one.
During World War II, the hotel continued to flourish. About 4,000 British soldiers were put up here, and they would party regularly. Today, guests can relive Kolkata's imperial heyday in this heritage hotel.
You know, it's not hard to imagine that this place would have been filled with dignitaries and senators and very important individuals, part of the British colonial administration. But what I also find enjoyable is this little pocket garden that lies in the middle of the hotel. I could imagine that once upon a time, finely dressed memsahbs or ladies who lunch would have been out here enjoying tiffin or afternoon tea. That also is a British legacy that has been left behind, because today this hotel still wonderfully functions as a place of meeting and greeting, not only for dignitaries but also for the international traveller.
When we return, I seek out reminders of British influence in the intellectual hub of Kolkata. Kolkata is a time capsule of colonial culture. This city was once the administrative headquarters of the British Raj and has elements of its colonial past deeply ingrained in many aspects of daily life. College Street in central Kolkata is an excellent example. This street derived its name from the presence of many colleges here. And Presidency University is one of its most significant landmarks. Established in 1817, it is one of South Asia's oldest Western-style institutions of higher learning. I am eager to find out the role that this institution has played in propagating Britain's educational legacy. For that, I'm meeting Professor Rai Chowdhury, Dean of Presidency University.
please tell me a bit about the history of this place.
A lot of colleges were first started inside this institution. For example, the first engineering college, the first medical college, the first institutes of mathematics and statistics and earth sciences were all started here, and then they had lives of their own outside. And then slowly towards the end of the 19th century, the research laboratories started here as well. The first physics laboratory in India, the first chemistry laboratory in India, all of that started here.
Education was an effective tool for spreading the values of the colonial masters. At Presidency University, the British education system had provided a solid foundation for what has been Bengal's preeminent tertiary institution for almost 150 years.
So, Prof. Rai Chowdhury, within these walls, what changes have we seen to the British education system over the years?
Well, in the beginning, it all started with the classical subjects, liberal arts. It was used to educate the future bureaucrats and the diplomats of the country. So it'll be literature, some of the Indian languages, and things like history and the classics.
The alumni of the college have distinguished themselves both nationally and internationally in various fields. One notable name is the eminent scientist, Jagadish Chandra Bose, who was responsible for the first ever generation of microwaves in a laboratory along one of these corridors.
Bose's famous students were people like Saha and S.N. Bose. They together, while they were students of J.C. Bose, were the first people who had translated Einstein's paper on general relativity 1915. Two Bengali students in Presidency College got Einstein's paper first, understood its significance, translated it to English, and that then spread over the English-speaking world. So you can see that, Presidency was already acting as a conduit for information and of research, of new knowledge, creating new knowledge, in the British colonies.
In 1870, a plan was submitted for the construction of a building on the premises where the university is now located. The new building was inaugurated in 1874 in the presence of His Excellency, the Viceroy of India. There were unmistakably Victorian references in the architecture.
Do you know what? I'm really not sure what I was going to be expecting from this venerated academic institution, but what I do know is that it feels like it's been caught in a time warp. We have examples of that technological ingenuity of the industrial era with the wrought iron beams and the wrought iron staircases. We have exposed stone flag floors and also these roughly rendered walls. But what an interesting experience, because this really does give me a flavour of how students were educated during the British Raj.
With its rich heritage and academic excellence, Presidency University remains a coveted destination for scholars from all over the Indian subcontinent and beyond. Just across the street from Presidency University stands an important College Street fixture, the Indian Coffee House. Also known as College Street Coffee House, it has played a vital role in Kolkata's cultural history as the hub of intellectual and political debate. Notable locals like Tagore and S.C. Bose were frequent visitors to the place.
With so many academic institutions like Calcutta University, the Sanskrit School, Presidency College sitting cheek by jowl next to each other along College Street, you better have some very good infrastructure in order to be able to allow the intelligentsia to communicate. The coffee shop has always historically been such a meeting place, and here in the Indian Coffee House, it did just that job.
When Western education came to Kolkata, it changed the cultural and intellectual landscape of the city. The British needed bureaucrats to help govern this massive country, so they trained native Indians to become civil administrators. This created an intellectual elite that had an immense impact on the city's culture. The atmosphere on College Street is a wonderful hybrid of gritty Indian street culture and British scholastic influence. Nothing says this better than the jumble of bookstores. First editions, pamphlets, paperbacks in every one of India's many languages, foreign titles in and out of print. This second-hand book market is not only the world's largest, but also a treasure trove of genuine rarities.
You know, when I was a student at Cambridge, I would spend many hours in bookshops, but nothing can actually prepare you for something like this. I mean, College Street is literally lined with bookshops, and here is a wonderful example that dates to 1886, and it has all the hallmark features. We've got the wrought iron staircases, the exposed beams, but even despite all the antiquated bookshelves, we do get a lot of modern literature. I mean, I can see Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, but my personal favourite as an architect is Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. Tell me a bit more about this place.
My great-grandfather started in the year 1886.
Wow.
At that time, only on College Street, only 30 to 40 bookshops were there. Now, I think more than 10,000 bookshops are in College Street.
That is remarkable.
So we have witnessed 2 world wars, the First and Second World War.
Today, the British come as tourists, not overlords. But their influence is indelible, not only in the bricks and mortar, but in different aspects of Kolkatan life.
You know, it feels like almost a perfect setting to be finishing at the Victoria Memorial, this remarkable gleaming white edifice created out of marble at the time of one of the most flamboyant viceroys, Lord Curzon. It's a fitting tribute to the opulence and dynamism and also the confidence of the British Raj. What we need to bear in mind is that this goes beyond economic exploitation of the East India Company. This was the time of the British Raj that sought to try and create a steel framework around India. And that for me is quite remarkable. They were able to do that through the railway system, through centralised administration, and through an advanced educational system that would create future leaders and also dignitaries and also political figures. While I may have found a British legacy in India, it does actually leave me with a burning question. What about those civil servants who eventually went back to Great Britain? We can talk about a British legacy in India, but did they not have stories to tell back home? Perhaps we should also consider not just the British legacy in India, but the Indian legacy in Great Britain.
In India's northwestern state of Punjab, there lies a city that houses Sikhism's holiest temple. A city home to a shrine that encapsulates many poignant Sikh stories. A walled city with an intricate web of streets forming a shield around the holy centre. This is the city of Amritsar, the 400-year-old spiritual locus of the Sikhs. I'm Jason Pomeroy, an eco-architect and urban planner, and I'm passionate about cities. I'm travelling to a series of great cities and finding out how old and modern architecture give each destination its special character. Amritsar was founded by the 4th Sikh Guru, Guru Ramdas, in 1574 on land he had purchased for 700 rupees. Present-day Amritsar has the same hyperactivity that characterises most other Indian cities. Commercialisation and urbanisation have staked their claims on the city. But across a tangle of railway lines, Amritsar's old walled city retains the flavour of a bygone era, with narrow streets, ancient trades and many significant historical sites.
I've arrived in Amritsar, the spiritual centre of the Sikh faith, and it's really quite a remarkable place. My first findings and feelings about the crowded organic streets standing in stark contrast to the Golden Temple. This truly is the spiritual centre, and I'm certainly looking forward to this journey whereby I'll be exploring how the Sikh faith has adapted to the architecture, and certainly how the architecture has similarly informed the Sikh faith.
Sikhism originated in Punjab in the 1400s with the teachings of Guru Nanak, the religion's founding guru. Under the leadership of 10 successive gurus, Sikhism has grown to become the world's 5th largest organised religion today. Punjab is the only state in the world with a Sikh majority. The Golden Temple stands at the heart of Amritsar, and it is the holiest of Sikh Gurdwaras. Gurdwara is a Punjabi term meaning gateway to the Guru, and it is what the Sikhs call their place of worship. More people visit this holy site than the Taj Mahal. I'm meeting Dr. Mahal, a native of Amritsar and an expert in Sikh culture. He will guide me through my first ever visit to a Sikh shrine.
So what we have here is a complex of different buildings that make up the entire Golden Temple. What do we have in the middle here?
That's the middle of this building. That is the place of worship where the holy book of Sikhs, Guru Granth Sahib, is placed. That is exactly in the center of this building.
It's a remarkable gold structure. I mean, it looks like it's been coated in gold leaf. Is that the case?
Oh yes, about 750 kilograms of the gold were used, and it is plated on the copper plates.
The Golden Temple was completed around 1602, but the present structure is the result of a substantial rebuild in 1764 following an enemy attack. In the 1800s, Maharaja Ranjit Singh secured the Punjab region from further attacks and gilded the upper floors of the Gurdwara, which gives the Golden Temple its distinctive appearance and English name. The Golden Temple seems to float on a body of water, fed by the Ravi River.
And what is the water body called?
It is water body is called the Amritsar. That is the name of the city. Amrit means the nectar, the holy water, and the Sar means that is the lake.
Tell me a bit about the bridge.
Yes, the lakhs of the people every day come and bow the head that they have the belief that just crossing the bridge that is 60 meters distance to the main holy place, they and feel that we are Guru Dwara. We are just entering the door of the Guru's place.
Interestingly, the Golden Temple reveals architectural features that are drawn from other faiths.
What I also notice is that the architecture looks like a fusion between Islamic and Hindu elements, and yet this is a Sikh temple. Why is that?
Sikhs came into existence just 550 years ago. The Islam came into existence 1400 years ago. But the Hindu culture is a long since the ages. The structures built during the Hindu time and the structure built by the Muslims and the Islamic people, yes, there is a certain ideas drawn from both the culture.
The 4 entryways into the complex emphasize acceptance and openness, because Sikhism welcomes all, regardless of caste, creed or gender. But Mughal aggression had forced the Sikhs to take up arms. By the late 1700s, the Golden Temple had been attacked by invaders no less than 7 times.
Ranjit Singh, the Maharaja, was quite a notable military genius. So was he sort of instrumental in trying to create a Sikh culture that was almost warrior-like?
Yes, actually he followed the path of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru of Sikhs, and he built the army of Sikhs, the Khalsa army. And the Khalsa army was the main to fight against the Mughals and also the British.
In 1699, Guru Gobind Singh founded the Khalsa, a disciplined community that combines its spiritual purpose with political goals and military duties. A 3-storied religious fortress, Ramgarhia Bunga, watches over the Golden Temple. It was built by Jassa Singh Ramgarhia in 1755 to house a defending force of Khalsa leaders in the temple compound. From the 2 towers, about 150 feet high, enemies approaching could be spotted from afar. If they were not undergoing restoration work, these towers would now serve tourists seeking a panoramic perspective.
So tell me a bit about these towers.
There was a Sikh general called Jassa Singh Ramgarhia. So he was given the responsibility to protect the premises from the invaders. Then they built this building and these were the watchtowers. They used it as a fort. There is a certain points you can just fire the. So these are for surveillance and for the security.
It really does feel quite fortress-like.
Ramgarhia Bunga was constructed mainly with small, kiln-fired bricks set in lime plaster and mud mortar. Along with masonry arches, the design includes 44 engraved pillars of marble and red sandstone. The facade is decorated with delicately chiselled patterns.
You know, I guess nothing could really prepare me for the sights of the Golden Temple, because when you're actually outside, what you're faced with is nothing more than a marble forecourt and this staunch, big, white wall. But step through the gates and what you then get to see is this glimmering gold pavilion floating on the holy water. For me, this is really quite remarkable. It's full of symbolism, and the fact that the Golden Temple is offset by a backdrop that relates to Islamic and Hindu architecture is really quite fascinating. You can see the Islamic and the Hindu elements in the onion-shaped domes, in the colonnaded walkways, and we can see that heritage of a warrior class in the fact that this is almost fortress-like, with two towers presiding over the city. All in one site, you have a city within a city, a religious complex, but also a fortification.
Up next, I visit the tallest Gurdwara in Amritsar that is rich with many poignant Sikh stories. Just a short walk from the Golden Temple stands a structure that draws little attention despite its stature. This 9-storey tower is the Gurdwara Baba Atal Rai. Dr. Mahal recommends a visit to this monumental place of worship that holds special significance for the Sikhs.
Why is this so important?
It's a 200 years old building, and this is the tallest building as a Gurdwara in the history of the Sikhs. And because this is centuries old building,
Right.
and its structure is a lime structure. No concrete is used, no steel is used, and this is the wisdom of the architectural scientists amongst the Sikhs.
Wow.
And this is one of the greatest and tallest Gurdwaras in the Sikh history.
The 9 stories symbolise the 9 short years of Baba Atal Rai's life. Son of Guru Har Gobind, young Atal Rai was called Baba, meaning wise old man, for possessing wisdom far beyond his years. The 6th Sikh Guru erected this tower as a cenotaph, enshrining the remains of his son who had died prematurely in 1628. Standing at a height of over 40 metres, this holy tower offers a panoramic view of the city. Situated on the southwestern side of the Golden Temple, the present structure was built in the late 1700s and became a Gurdwara, a place of worship. The interior of the Gurdwara takes inspiration from the Golden Temple, with a gilded, mirrored ceiling covering the ground floor. The first story is where one is treated to the magnificent fresco artwork that encircles the top half of the octagonal structure. The intricate paintings depict the life of Sikhism's founder, Guru Nanak.
As we move round this building in a clockwise fashion, we're actually getting the depiction in pictorial terms of Guru Nanak's life, from a child all the way through to adolescence, all the way through to
To
end
the
of
last
days.
breath.
Remarkable. And I love the fact that the mirrored ceiling, very fine filigree and marble, also seems to bounce light around this room. It makes it feel so much lighter.
The basic purpose is we are all around surrounded by the nature, flowers and the leaves and the trees, even the birds around. Means that represents we are with the harmony of the nature. So nature is all around and we appreciate the nature.
The upper floors of the tower were damaged during a military operation in 1984. They have since been refurbished and are now modern in design, a stark contrast to what is taking place on the lower floors, where tradition is being preserved.
You know, this really does tell you something about the Sikh tradition, and also their very strong storytelling tradition. But for me, this is just simply framework. This is actually framing something far more important that we can see over here. This wonderful arch with the symmetrical painting of flora and fauna, even peacocks, the national symbol of India, similarly depicts Guru Nanak's life, but is actually flanked by 2 military generals
warriors almost presiding over this archway in protection of what lies within. This is the inner sanctum. This is the sanctuary for the Holy Book. The Sheesh Mahal, a beautifully gilt golden interior, demonstrates the opulence and the importance of this central space within the building.
Due to the current restoration work in the tower, the Holy Book has been moved to an adjacent hall.
You know, it's wonderful to see craftsmen restoring this building to its former glory, because I get the sense that there are so many temple structures, gate structures that have been left to ruin. In many respects, we need to try and preserve these heritage buildings, these landmarks, in order to tell the Sikh story. And I'm sure Maharaja Ranjit Singh would be very proud to see carpenters, painters, decorators trying to restore these wonderful frescoes to their former glory. I find it quite remarkable that here we are in almost this oasis, this peacefulness, if you will, with wonderful lush gardens and water. That is a remarkable difference to the throng of the Golden Temple, where many millions of people arrive every day just to worship. But this in itself tells a remarkable story and is actually a wonderful example of Sikh architecture that almost appears to be forgotten.
When we return, I navigate the narrow streets of old Amritsar and examine the fortification of this ancient city. The grind of modernisation has not erased Amritsar's heritage. The old walled city is Ramdaspur, named after the founder, Guru Ramdas. Encircled by 12 city gates, intricate networks of narrow streets crisscross within. Dr. Mahal wants me to experience what life was like here centuries ago.
This seems to have grown organically over time. That's why these narrow alleyways are so chock-a-block full of these rickshaws, auto rickshaws, motorcycles, and the cacophony of the noise is just a bit much.
This is the most congested area of Amritsar and very close to the Golden Temple. This place is called the Katra Ahluwalia.
Yes.
Katra means the small fortress.
Fortress, okay.
During the ancient times, the Golden Temple was protected by the Sikh, rich and Sikh generals, and Ahluwalia, Jassa Singh Ahluwalia is one of the generals.
Right.
And he, and along with other rich and mighty Sikhs, they surrounded the whole Golden Temple along its small fortresses.
This is a prime example of a fortified city. Golden Temple, this jewel, surrounded by a fortress wall, which is then surrounded by a donut of trade, commerce, living, working, playing, and then a further wall that encapsulates that. How did this come about? I mean, was Amritsar always an opulent trading environment, or were people invited here?
During the Guru's time and afterwards Maharaja Ranjit Singh, they invited the prestigious businessmen from the Rajasthan and other parts of India to settle down over here so that this place can be converted into one of the big business places.
So the success story of Amritsar isn't just about the Golden Temple as being the centre of the Sikh faith. It's also about the openness of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh and some of the gurus to invite India into Amritsar to make it an important trade and commerce hub.
Along with narrow streets, the katras, or dwellings that functioned as fortresses in wartime, seem to have been frozen in time.
So these bricks are how old?
These are more than 200 years old, and this is a slightly bigger size, and this is almost 150 years old.
So you can actually read the age of the buildings just by looking at the brick
That's the
size.
size of the bricks.
So this is the older part of the city,
Older
and then
part.
this is the newer part of the city.
This is a walk back in time, as one witnesses traditional trades being practiced in the same place and manner as they have been done for centuries.
Amritsar was known for trading in the tea and the shawls.
Okay.
Shawl means the silk. The silk was brought from the Kashmir over here,
Yes.
and this was the main trading center that exported to all around means in India, the old India.
Shawls, silks, teas were very important in the trade and commerce taking place in Amritsar.
Yes.
When the Sikhs invited merchants into the walled city to set up businesses, trade and commerce flourished. But Sikhism had taken on a militant character against Mughal aggression by the late 1600s, and the walled city remained vigilant with an emphasis on defence. The walls may no longer demarcate the city's boundaries, but the gates stand as reminders, either in its refurbished form or as signposts.
Dr. Mahal, this to me does not look like Sikh architecture. This to me looks like British colonial architecture in the form of the crenellations at the top, the Gothic arches, the red brick, and that sort of central clock. Tell me a bit about this history.
This gate, named Hall Gate, was structured during the British times.
So it was the case.
So as far as the name is concerned, it's Hall Gate. This road leads exactly to the town hall.
Okay.
And there was a very important community hall called Temperance Hall.
We were hard-pressed to find original features in any of the 12 gates that surround the walled city. The structures still standing have mostly been modified by the British, who had made their presence felt in Amritsar in the latter half of the 1800s. There is but one gate that still reflects the ancient city's Sikh heritage.
Now this gate looks remarkably different to the other gates that we've seen that have been left as almost relics to the British colonial time.
This is called the Rambagh Gate. Ram means the name of Guru Ramdas.
Yes.
And there is a Rambagh garden that is known as a summer palace of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He used to spend his summers in this garden, and this gate that faces to the Rambagh gardens too, that's why it was called the Rambagh Gate.
So basically the 12 gates that take place around the city each have a particular character and identity driven by the function within the city. So your Lahori gate is on the road to Lahore. Your Hall Gate is located in a position to characterize the town hall. And here, Rambagh Gate is speaking of the reference point, which is the Rambagh Gardens and the Rambagh Palace by Ranjit Singh. So what would have taken place behind this gate?
Behind this gate was the small fortress, and it had a Sikh army, Khalsa army, to protect the Golden Temple, because many invaders invade the Golden Temple before Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And once he renovated the Golden Temple, he was very much aware to protect, because a lot of money was spent to restructure. Then for gold plating and everything, the most precious monument as far as the structure is concerned, as far as the religious importance is concerned. So he was much more concerned about the protection of the temple, city, as well as himself, those who had a summer palace in the garden.
The original walls that encircled the city are elusive, but I've made an interesting discovery. Some new buildings have cleverly incorporated the old city walls into their facades.
What I particularly love is this building here, because it almost references back to the past as well. Not only is it a new residential development, but you see these little quarters of bricks. Well, they're actually kiln-fired tiles that are the same size as the bricks 200 years ago, but it's actually created quite a remarkable architectural composition. For me, it's a certain sense of cultural sensitivity in and amongst the chaos of the streets.
Amritsar has been the spiritual capital of the Sikhs for over 400 years. This fortified city, with its network of chaotic streets that have grown organically around the Golden Temple, was developed in most parts to serve its spiritual centre. With the preservation of Sikh heritage and ideologies in both architecture and culture, Sikhism will undoubtedly continue to flourish in this city of the Holy Lake.
I conclude my journey through Amritsar thinking that this city is a bit of a paradox. Why? Well, here we have this city that was constantly invaded by Mughals, Afghans, even the British, and yet the Sikhs opened up its gates to allow for people from all around India to invest in this place. It's a holy city, and yet it's also a city of trade and commerce, being a centre for the textile industry. It's also a city with a holy temple, sitting cheek by jowl next to a fortress. Even the Sikh people, incredibly holy, but at the same time warriors in their own right. These contrasts strike me as a bit of a paradox, but perhaps that is also referencing the Sikh faith in itself, in that it is about acceptance. The fact that the Sikhs do not discriminate against age, race, creed or colour. And arguably the built environment here does exactly the same thing. It is all accepting, and perhaps that is what makes Amritsar successful.